welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
It's been a minute.
What do we do again? How do we do this?
What's this podcast called? Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody.
Hope y'all are enjoying 2024 so far. We are here and just working our way through this episode, just trying to figure out what we're talking about today. And we've kind of been bouncing back and forth. But first off, I want to ask you, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I did not get a whole lot of sleep last night.
Mm-hmm.
I got stuck on a new Netflix series and I started binging, and the next thing I knew, it was 3:00 in the morning and my alarm went off at 7. So
Wee.
So I'm like, uh-oh.
Apparently it makes it easier to channel or receive messages.
Yeah. That happened right before we hit record. So I was like, I'm going to doze off. Oh my gosh.
It's been a busy week. It's been a busy weekend. Yeah. You know, we're still getting back to the grind of things after the holidays, and we've kicked off our staging business, Divine Living, Style and Decor.
Yep.
And we, had our first customer, our first client that we staged for last week. Yay. And so that was really exciting.
Looked really good.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of work over the holidays to get ready and prepared. And of course, this weekend, since we've already placed half of our stuff, it was time to go shopping again. And so that was really fun.
That was awesome. And what's interesting is that I took the vlogging camera with me so we could share this with our audiences, and I completely forgot to pull it out of the bag and hit record at any given time.
So that means we have to go shopping again.
Right. That's exactly what she said. I was like, oh my God, I forgot to actually pull the vlogging camera out. And she's like, oh darn, we have to go shopping some more. I was like, I feel like this will be our new full-time job. So it's all good. Spending money.
Oh yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
Shopping is therapy for me.
It is for me too. Fantastic.
So tell me a little bit about what you're bringing to the table today.
Yeah. So I got a new deck of cards. It was gifted to me over the holidays. And thank you. I know that you listen to this podcast, and I'm not going to say your name for your privacy, but you know who you are. And my goodness, thank you for this gift. It is absolutely fantastic. And I decided today that, we could have used any of the decks that we had in our little stash over there. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to open this up. And when I open a new deck of cards, I always go through and I don't look at any of the cards, but I have them face down and I touch every last one of them. And I connect with them in a way of saying something about love and light and highest vibrations and highest frequencies, and surrounded by my angels and guides and loved ones and ancestors. And for some reason, I really wanted the ancestral connection with this deck. And I remember saying to myself, I'm calling in all of the aspects of me that have been enlightened in their lifetimes to bring in knowledge and provide messages for the highest and greatest good for not only of myself and my best friend, but all of those that listen or these cards are received too. And so I, wanted to make sure that I actually received a message from this deck for the very first time for myself. And I pulled that out. And when I did, it was interesting because the first card that came out it had a message related, and even the what do you call that? The affirmation. Even the affirmation that stated says the word ancestor in it. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
A little bit of an acknowledgement there.
Yeah. And then as we were sitting here, and I was like, you know what, let's just connect with the guides really fast and see what topics that, they like to bring forward through us today. And the first thing I was feeling something ancient. I was on Earth, but on ancient land, and experiencing things from a much different perspective and way of looking at it. And that was kind of how I was experiencing it. And then I remember actually experiencing it. They gave me a reference to the way the sand works with the wind and things like that. And I was even experiencing it from something as ancient as the sand.
Like the perspective of the sand.
Right,
yeah.
Right. then even coming out of that, because they left me off with a really funny message and commented about how easier it was for me to connect today because I was on, a couple hours of sleep. And I was like, yeah, I'm surprised I didn't start snoring. um, but then I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to take the guidebook, flip it, and then we're just going to see what the topic's going to be today. And then it literally, and I had my eyes closed when I did it, and it literally lands on the very first card that I pulled out of a deck of cards that I've never used before that I just opened today, which was the one with the ancestor message in it. And I was like, oh, man.
And part of that message was actually talking about transitions.
Yes.
And having the choice to experience from different perspectives and having the awareness even, or encouraging the awareness of, just because it doesn't always feel good, there is always good connected to it. And it's kind of our choice to become aware. It's not always a passive thing, just becoming aware. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to take an active step in zooming out and being like, okay, what am I missing here? How else is this connected? How else will this benefit me, even though it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment?
Yeah.
And it made me think of like when we get in an argument with somebody, that doesn't feel good in the moment, but it can lead to something good, a shift in the relationship to work harder towards building each other up or loving each other deeper. And so even though something doesn't feel good always in the moment or happen the way you are hoping or thinking it should, there's still potential for seeing the positive that it can result in.
And I think that it's, and I'll just touch on this for a brief second here, but when I was in that meditative state or trance state, honestly, because I was so tired, I was like, bye. So when I was in that trance state, I literally was feeling this connection. So they were showing me this grain of sand and how on one side of this little tiny speck of sand, how it's shiny on one side and how it can be dull on the other, but how the wind can pick it up and move it across the ground and flip it over at any point in time to be on either the shiny side or the dull side. And how when you are at a different perspective and you look down at all the grains of sand, everything just sparkles. You might not even necessarily pick up that there's dull grains of sand because your perspective is so much higher looking down at the collective. And how the dull side of the sand and the sparkly side or the shiny side of the sand connected to one another can still create this beautiful picture for all to see. And then the wind itself, and they gave me some reference into how the wind can be an assistant and how, from this grain of sand's perspective, one grain of sand could look at it and be like, oh, I worship the wind because it does everything that we need it to do and it carries us. And then the next grain of sand could be like, well, my perspective of this is just it's just what it does. It's just here to help all the time whenever we need it. And it was just such an interesting, intricate conversation in something so what we don't even pay attention to from this level, right? So anyway, I was thinking about that and then the connection of that with change and the transition into the awareness, right? And I do feel like that's something that is really happening at the collective level.
I agree.
Just so much more so than what we've seen in the past, and at least with me, at least on the planet. But I'm sure the person that first flew the airplane over was like, dude, we're so advanced, so perspective, right? But anyway, so I mean, but I do think that there's this awakening awareness. And when I say awakening, I'm not talking about I see dead people, awakening, or, I can hear, my spirit guides loud and clear audibly. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ability to see something for what it is, the ability to shift how you see something or how you understand something.
I just got the visual of removing the blinders.
Yeah. Yeah.
The blinders being what keeps you focused on the scary, the negative, the lack.
Yeah. It's intriguing to me because I know that a lot of people can easily step into like a fear-based thought process. And I've had my moments. This is not a judgment thing at all. This is I'm right along with you guys.
We're human and
Right.
we're taught about these things, and it's inundated with it throughout social media and the news and all those other things to keep you in that fear-based place.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just training after training after training of it. And so, but I feel like a lot of people are really wanting to break away from that icky feeling of that fear state. And because of that, I think a lot of people are also aligning towards this goal of, can we be human and can we be that sand and that wind that just play within one another, that help each other in this collective state, and a flow that just goes along with it, and seeing it from that leap, right? Versus I'm just the sand that needs to worship the air because that air does something for me, right?
It's like you mentioned earlier, the give and take. That was a big part of the message that you received in the trance meditation. And I got the word fluidity because it's very easy to get rigid in our beliefs, in our fears, in what we believe to be the right way of living or acting or being or doing. And it can be freeing to allow for that fluidity, to be able to step back and be like, do I need to react in this moment?
Yeah.
Or can I just like take a beat and reflect and be like, how else can I see this? Can I step back and see maybe somebody else's perspective so I can understand why they're reacting in this way? Because it'd be great if we could all just like wave a magic wand and all of us be like, yay, I can see the light from different perspectives of the prism. That'd be cool. But the reality of it is not everybody's going to be able to let go of that rigidity.
Right. I feel like when I was in that connection, when I was having this experience as the sand, and quickly, very rapidly flipping back and forth between the grain that worshipped the air versus the grain that aligned with the air and, was fluid with the air. And one felt restrained, right? Like it didn't know that it could be itself and just go with the flow. And the other felt so light and free.
It was almost like a belief in hierarchy. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was kind of it was very interesting. And I got this weird like blob thing when I was connected with it was just like a weird, like it was white, but it was like this weird, like it kind of reminded me of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man without the scarf and the hat, like that's why I said that when you played that back for me. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because it just felt like over inundated with worry, right? Like, I'm here, I want to get over there, but I'm reliant on this air, this thing above me, this thing that's more than I am.
I started to think about how humans, we have a bit of an ego. We think we're pretty intelligent, which I'm not saying we're not, but we can sometimes develop the opinion that we are more intelligent than anything else. And that's, I think, because we don't understand everything else. And so we also, if we're neglecting the fact that there's a give and take, there's a greater intelligence beyond like just this earth. Like, again, everything that the earth does, right? Yeah. She creates a home for us. She creates water for us. She creates air for us. She creates an ozone. So it's a give and take. And so often we feel like it's just take. And we take this place of take,
Yeah.
especially with the resources that we get from Earth. And so where are we at in this transition to learn how to give back also and live coexisting
Yeah.
with other intelligent life? And I'm not saying that like we're not intelligent. We are pretty intelligent beings, but we have a lot of room for growth.
You know, I'm as you're saying this, I'm getting all these like mental images. Nice way of my guides to communicate with me, but one of them was referencing we're getting a little bit of a wind day here, just so we're clear, okay?
So if you hear any music, high-pitched noises in the background,
It is a very strange. I've been in this house for a couple of years now, and I've never heard this. And
it sounds like a wind instrument outside.
it does. It sounds like music, like
Yes.
somebody's actually playing an instrument, and it's just the wind hitting something. We haven't figured that out yet, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, so you might hear it in the microphones.
Or we might just be saying this and you never hear it.
Right? True. One of the two. One of the two.
We're just hearing things.
But if you do hear it, it's kind of cool. So,
Yes.
and it sounds very ancestral. That's the other weird part. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we're just hearing these things now. So I keep getting this reference to one of the meditations that I had listened to once. And it was one of my favorite things to listen to, which was, or maybe it was one of my guides. I can't remember. But anyway, it was the actual feeling of the wind, the air, as you breathe it in and breathe it out, like focusing on the feeling of it on your lips. And I remember when I do that, and even when I'm talking now and I'm focused in on that, it's almost like it's liquid, but it's completely clear and we don't see it unless they're smoking it or something. But like, it is still an intricate part of us, and we take all the time and we give back all the time. And we do this so naturally and on a flow in order for us to breathe and to be here, right? And it's such a vital part of us. But are we every day worshiping the fact that there's air, right? Like, not necessarily. It's just part of who we are. It's just part of
We do it unconsciously.
we do it unconsciously, right? And so there's this like feeling for me that more often we're going to start to see that type of a connection with one another and with the way we live and how it's growing rapidly towards that. I'm seeing it in the way technology is being released, right? At a very rapid pace to support those that are just probably so dang tired of spending so much time on work or doing things that they don't want to do because they'd rather do something else, right? And you see that with the increase in awareness of our food because people are so tired of feeling like poo, you know? And you see this in the way we take care of our health. Even just like recently, I know this is a thing. I remember my grandmother doing it. I just started experimenting with castor oil. I've never slept so good in my life. And it's a completely natural remedy. And so just those types of ways of being where the egoic thought process of, ooh, that's woo-woo, you know, the name calling, the putting somebody down because they have a different thought process and belief system than you. I feel like more and more people will start to, quote unquote, wake up to the fact that not everyone's identical. We all have our uniqueness, but we all share a commonality. And that commonality is that we're connected with this air. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want to be happy. We want to be prosperous. We want to be at peace. And we want to feel free. And I don't know of a single person that doesn't want those things. So, and I think that this is going to really start to uptick this year. And I feel like a lot of the messages that I'm hearing whether it's from my own personal guides or just repeated everywhere else. Like that's like this thing, that this momentum towards it that's like going forth.
The song that's coming to mind is Let It Be.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And hey, that guide that Angela Fraser said communicates in song. When you get those little songs in your, what's the name of that angel again? Sandalphine?
Yeah,
Sandalphine? Sandalphine.
Sand dolphin,
Sandalphine.
which you were thinking about sand today.
Oh, that's I just got full chills. Full chills.
We don't know how to say the name, by the way.
I know, right? I don't.
We're probably butchering it.
I don't think they're judgmental, so that's good.
No, we are. We are.
We are.
You know, I think one other thing to mention too, like, or that is coming to mind is you had mentioned like we're in transition. I think that there's change. There's, that's the only constant is change. But I think that there's a lot of resistance and fear towards change. But if you think about it in the terms of like evolution and growth, I hope that relieves some of the discomfort of the potential for change for you.
I agree 100%. I keep wanting to read that number 44 card that I pulled first today, and then ironically, with my eyes closed, flipped to the page earlier. Okay. Let's do it. And this will also be the oracle deck that we're going to be using for our collective card reading today. So I'm going to read straight from the book. The deck is by Asha Frost. The artwork is by Steph Littlebird. And this deck is called the Sacred Medicine Oracle. And I'm reading from their guidebook that comes with the deck. So, and we're going to show you that deck here in a little bit. But first, I'm going to read. So the card is a star blanket. It's called Star Blanket. And it's got 3 sections in this for this card. The first is called a transition. And so I'm going to read that part. Traditionally, a star blanket is gifted as an honor of passage through special times of one's life, such as birth, marriage, graduation, or other life events that create an extraordinary shift for one's being. Although we often think that these events are filled with positivity and joy, sometimes shifts in our lives take time to integrate and assimilate in our hearts and minds. If you have just been through one such event, this blanket comes with comfort and assurance. There are times in our lives where we hold a lot of attachment with how life should unfold. We yearn for a straightforward path with joy and no pain. Life isn't always like this, and this card affirms that if you are feeling unsettled or filled with grief around a transition, it's okay. Sometimes outcomes aren't always as expected, and you are asked to trust that Creator, with a capital C, continues to hold a vision of the most aligned path for you. This card carries the medicine of the morning star, the most illuminated star in the east that shines before dawn. You are reminded to stay aligned with hope through your current transition. The light will always return. And then the second part of this is called the Sacred Ceremony. Same card. An ancestor that loves you deeply wraps a star blanket around your body, signifying the passage through a significant life event, growth, or evolution for you. You feel a warmth and tingling on the back of your body as the blanket offers stardust to you. Envision yourself as an empty, spacious container aligned with the energy of the universe. Allow yourself to be filled with waves of comfort from above. Cozy in this blanket of honoring, your transition is blessed with hope. And it provides a healing affirmation. And I love this. My ancestors want what is best for me. I trust that the transition that is happening is a necessary part of my growth. And I kind of want to just throw the word learning at the end of it. It's just that's magical. It's absolutely magical.
I was just thinking about growing pains and how when we focus on the pain, it can intensify. But when we focus on the growth that it's connected to, it that positive aspect can outshine the pain or make the pain more tolerable.
I almost have this like sense of like relief when you give it gratitude as well. So say like that story I told once upon a time about my morning, the wild morning, and looking back at it and saying, wow, thank you, SUV, for pulling out in front of me and going well under the speed limit. You saved me from probably getting into an accident with that truck at the next intersection. I can let that go. Right? So, yeah.
Letting go. Another favorite lesson.
Another favorite lesson. Guess what time it is, you guys? It's time for the collective card reading.
All right. As promised, we are using the Sacred Medicine Oracle deck by Asha Frost. So now you can see it here if you are on YouTube. If you are on podcast audio, hop on over to YouTube and check it out.
It's
At
beautiful.
some point, we are going to have this on our website.
At some point, we will add this deck to
It
the
may
website.
or may not be on there at the time of the release of this episode, but it's on our list of things to do.
Right.
Okay, card number 1.
And I have not seen these.
Ooh.
Wow.
So this is card number 48. It is called Spider Woman. Shyra loves spiders. It is her favorite thing. She's no sarcasm there whatsoever. And the word underneath Spider Woman is destiny. I remember reading something about spiders being connected to femininity.
Oh, interesting.
And like they make the home, right? They weave the web, they create the space. I know that there's other connections to it that I cannot recall, but I do remember that spiders, snakes, and I think owls are all connected to the feminine.
Oh, interesting. I do love owls. I think they're the most fascinating things. Anyways. So for the Spider Woman, and as far as what the book goes, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because you should get your own cards and get the book and support this beautiful artist. So the legend shares that Spider Woman is a helper of the people, inspiring the creation of the spider web charm, otherwise known as the dream catcher.
I was just thinking that. Oh my God, that's so funny. I was just noticing like how similar the spider web looks to the dream catcher. That is really interesting. Okay.
And you're on point. She guides you back into your mother's womb and beyond, reminding you of your existence before you manifested into form. It's time to follow through on your heart's desire and the steps being revealed to you. Oh, it's even threw in the word magic. With Spider Woman's magical medicine, you are in a perfect position to walk in alignment with what was seen for you before you landed here upon Earth.
That's ancestral.
Ancestral. And it speaks to exactly what I was thinking earlier, which was the connection with those awakening to who they truly are. Which when I say that, I mean in the sense of like our ability to remember where we come from originally.
Beyond this
Physical form.
single physical form.
Right. Exactly. Super cool.
Card number 2.
Card number 2.
49. So we got 48 and 49. This is one that I speaks to my heart. It is called the Peaceful Warrior.
Nice.
I feel like I've mentioned that several times. The word below is actually potency.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even like tell them what the cards look like.
You're going to have to come on YouTube and see it. We're going to have to come on YouTube and see it.
All right, guys, this is our hey.
Call to action.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's it called?
Peaceful Warrior, number 49. I think it's in numerical order,
It is. But the pages are different. So
but still 49.
116. Oh, because we just did 48.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you that the couple
It's okay.
hours is
Yep.
kicking in.
No.
All right. Let's see. Oh my gosh. This is In times of upheaval and chaos, we often need fighters and defenders, but we need those who carry a steady and open-hearted presence even more urgently. That was a huge message. This is what is being asked of you at this time. When you think of the archetype of the warrior, what comes to your mind? Can you align this with a vision of peace and unity?
I know I've talked about this several times. So yes, for me.
I love that. While there are many who armor up for battle and fighting, this will not be the best use of your energy right now. The world needs your gentle spirit. Remembering that softness is strength too. Oh,
I love that.
me too. I like that there's a massive bird flying in front of a sun with a lot of sun rays around the sun in the depiction on the card. Go over to our YouTube channel if you are listening on audio to see this card. It's magical.
Card number 3.
Card number 3.
52.
52.
This one is called Cedar, and the word below it is extraction.
What a cool card. It's like,
It's like somebody's altar.
yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Is that a flower? Is that a rose?
It is right next to a bundle of sage and some other instruments.
And feathers. Mm-hmm. Feathers. If you've been asking
It looks like
for
a
a sign
whole
of feathers,
wing.
this is it.
Yeah.
That is cool. When we light cedar, it sparks and crackles, and this sound is said to call on our spirit helpers. Cedar is an integral part of many of our ceremonies, helping to protect and ground us. We place this medicine in our moccasin so that we walk in a good way. Cedar is used in our sweat lodge and fasting ceremonies to create boundaries and safeguarding, and it appears here for you to provide the same. Waves of spiritual protection weave through your physical and energy bodies as lower vibrations are extracted and warded off, which is exactly what I think is actually happening on this planet right now.
So hugely into the feminine, it feels like this spread is speaking to, like within each of us.
Right.
Again, not just women, right? But the feminine in each of us.
The energies, yeah.
Yes. So like remembering where you're from, what you come from, that it's not just this limited perception of where you are now, connecting to that femininity and using that outwardly in expressions of love to create peace, being a warrior for peace using love and kindness and compassion and patience, understanding. And I was looking at the individual things on this final card, the Cedar card, and the sage, I'm assuming it's sage. It looks like a bundle of sage. It's used to cleanse and clear. And I don't know what the rose necessarily represents, but you did mention in your trance meditation about stopping and smelling the roses.
Yeah. It was showing me this rose blooming, and as it was blooming, the message that I got was that the bloom is not just for the rose itself, but it's for those that walk by and perceive it, and the choice in that moment to stop and quote unquote smell the roses.
Like being open to seeing more of what is around you and actually giving to you than when we're stuck in that state of just internal turmoil kind of thing.
Right.
The wing, the feathers, I know it's used to waft the sage around a room to cleanse. I know this is a musical instrument that's also on here. I don't remember what it's called. It is Native American. It makes noise. Obviously, it's an instrument. It's going to make noise. But I feel I keep getting like this is a way to ward off negativity.
Yeah.
Everything on that card is about releasing and letting go and opening up, clearing space for, I just got this visual of the fog lifting so that you can actually see more clearly about the connections, about how everything is interconnected and it all is a process of give and take.
Yeah. And honestly, just kind of really calling in that light more often than allowing the lesser end of that. That's what I'd like to say. Oh,
Okie dokie, y'all.
that's all, folks. So,
Oh my God, I almost did like the Looney Tunes, like bitty 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 bitty. That's all, folks.
that's all, folks.
Aging ourselves.
I know. Gosh, those are, and like speaking of like having a moment, just that thought process right there, that reflection back on a time where you could just be a kid and watch Looney Tunes in the morning on a Sunday or Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. And how much fun that was.
Yeah.
Right. Something so simple.
Yeah. But isn't that the beauty of simplicity, right?
Yeah.
It's just, in a sense, it's a lot less messier.
It's so much less messier. Oh my gosh. Well, if you are enjoying our content and our episode today, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell as well so you can stay notified of any and all future content that we have.
We also have social media, y'all.
We do.
It's at Love Always Self on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. You can also find our website at lovealwaysself.com.
Yes, you can.
If you're interested in any creative design for your home, if you would like assistance with creating and embracing your space, we also have Divine Living Style and Decor at divinelivingstyledecor.com.
It's a long one, but it's beautiful.
We're also on Instagram and Pinterest.
We are. And we'll link all of that below. And as soon as we get this beautiful new Oracle deck of cards on our website, I'll be sure to come back and add that to the description.
It'll be listed down below, but it'll take a short little bit to get on the website. So we'll get to that. As a reminder, you guys, like it's all our choice to be open to the perceptions of the positive side of it. Not that everything always feels positive and delightful and is pain-free, but being open to see where that's leading you to, the evolution that's creating within you.
Absolutely. And on that note,
don't forget to love first,
love last,
and love always.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first,
love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.